Let's rock and roll, baby.
Okay, right now. You guys, alright, you guys, welcome to my channel, Wholesale to Million. My name is Kong, and today is a very, very special day for me because I get to interview, he's one of my inspiration. I don't know if he knows, but I watch a lot of his video on YouTube, and he inspired me. This guy, I mean, he's a powerhouse, you guys, and I want to, and he is my first interview on my channel. And it's such a great pleasure to have him accept the invite, and I want him to kind of share, to share him with you guys. And let's welcome him. And wait, before I get into that, you guys, I mean, this guy does multiple six-figure a month wholesaling houses in Memphis, Tennessee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You guys, let's welcome the one and only Bryan S.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy B. Right. Glad to have me on, man. I really appreciate you having us on, man. And thanks so much for noticing. Thanks so much for inviting us on the show. And we're happy to be here, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. And also, I actually, this just a couple weeks ago, I sent Bryan an invite to do it. And I said, hey, do you want me to send you some questions, or do you want to do this raw, the freestyle? And he said, you know what, Kong? Let's do it freestyle. Everything comes from the heart, man.
That's it. Speak from the heart, man.
So, you guys, this is my first interview, and we're pretty much just doing it raw. I'm going to ask Bryan some questions, and you guys take notes. I promise you, he's going to deliver some powerful information to get you guys going, or to get you guys scaling up on your wholesaling business. Yep. So, Bryan, let's start with question number one. Let's start with, everybody wants to know, everybody wants to, first of all, I like to get people inspired. So could you share your story of how you got into real estate?
Well, I've been involved in real estate for a little over a decade now, but my story goes back to when I was like 25, 26 years old. I had made a little bit of money in a software internet business that I had started, and I was staying at home with my parents. And so I wanted to, learn how to hold on to that money or even grow it. And what ended up happening is I ran into I started reading books, buying courses, the usual. And then that led me in the right direction to know what to do next. And I started to ask around from old friends. I ran into a friend, Todd Sherman. I always give him his props because I ran into him at the movie theaters, and he was like, hey, Harris, how you doing? I'm like, oh, my God, good to see you. I knew he was a real estate agent. And I was, just a guy who had some money that wanted to invest in real estate. So I was like, man, Tosh, help me, please. Help me, please. He says, you know what, Harris, I got you, man. Let's go look at some houses. We looked at some houses. We bought our first house together, and we flipped that house, and I was hooked. And from there, we ended up flipping close to over 100 properties in a short period of time, literally in 24 months. And at that time, that was also at the same time where the banks were kind of going down south, they were, the recession was about to happen. And so I never experienced financial boom like that before. So I wasn't aware of an economic boom. I wasn't aware of a recession, but I learned very quickly what a recession was, because that meant that the bank stopped lending money, and that was how my whole operation ran. And so one thing leads to another, man. I had bought all these houses, and then because they stopped giving loans to the end buyer, then guess what? I couldn't sell the houses. So now I got all these houses, right, that I was in it to flip it and not in it for residual. And I got stuck because I only had one strategy as an exit strategy. And I lost all those houses, man. I was devastated, lost my own personal home, ended up, having to stay with some friends. We moved to North Carolina. We stayed in a beach house, but we moved to North Carolina. We were sleeping in a twin bed, man. And it was me, my sons, and my wife all sleeping in a twin bed together. And what ended up happening from there, it was just life changing. It was at that moment, my sons were 2 and 3 years old, or 4 years old. And we're all laying in this twin bed together. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I got about 3 more years before they become conscious of remembering certain, events in their lives. And I will always want my sons to remember me in a light to where, they only experienced abundance. They only experienced, the proper mindset. So I made a decision right then to literally change my mind, change the way I think, and get my family out of that situation and put us in the life of abundance. And so one thing leads to another. I started reading more books, etc. Started other businesses and ended up making millions of dollars, and learned how to wholesale as another form of exit strategy or purchase strategy, etc. And that just added on to, what we were doing. And as a business owner, sometimes you have ups, sometimes you have downs. When I found out about wholesaling, the most amazing thing happened. I found out that I didn't have to have a lot of money to acquire real estate anymore. And that was the game changer for me. All I had to do was have a piece of paper, get it signed by the owner of a house, get another piece of paper, and get that signed by an end buyer, turn those into the title company, and I can make the in-between money. So if this guy pays $50,000 and this guy's selling it to me for $10,000, I made $40,000. I was like, how many times can I do this? And somebody said, this is what happened. I live in an area in Memphis, Tennessee, where I would say the goals are not as high. And the reason why here is because you can buy a mansion for $200,000-$300,000. In California, it's millions of dollars to do that. So you don't really have to set super high goals. So I asked the people who were doing wholesaling here, I was like, hey, how many, houses do you do a month wholesaling? You've been wholesaling for years, Red. How much are you making? So somebody would be like, I'm making $3,000. I make $6,000. I'm like, a day or what? And they're like, no, a month. And I was like, okay, so why are you only making $3,000 or $6,000? Like, are you limited to the amount of deals you can do? And they're like, no, it's just good extra money. And I was like, oh my God, so you mean I could do this with every deal I do? And so from that moment, I set a goal. I was like, okay, I reverse engineered it. How much do I want to make? Okay, I want to make $100,000 in a month, period. And that may be a small goal to Donald Trump or Bill Gates, but it was a big goal for me, right? And so I was like, okay, so to make $100,000 a day, I divide that number by 30 days. That's how I figure out how much income do I need to make a day to hit my monthly goal. So I divided the number by 30, and it's $3,333 a day makes $100,000 a month. So now I decided I know I'm talking too much. You got some other courses, I know, right?
Nope.
All right. So from there, I was like, okay, what activity do I need to do? So the activities that I needed to do that would generate $3,000 a day. So what I had to do now was like, okay, I need to find a source to make offers. Once again, my funds were like up and down at the time, so I didn't have the money to spend like the gurus were talking about. Spend $10,000 on mailers, spend $2,000 a month on pay-per-click. I didn't want to go that route because I was like, I wasn't too sure, and I didn't have like a true mentor guiding me along the way to tell me the best way. So I said, okay, $3,333 a day, and $3,333 a day. And what I needed to do, my activity was I needed to be able to make offers because I know I study Michael Jordan, and he shoots the ball. He misses a lot, but he shoots the ball, right? Kobe shoots the ball. Some of the greatest players in the world. So I needed to shoot the ball. And in this case, the ball was making offers to sellers. So as I started, I was like, okay, so how can I find motivated sellers? One, Zillow. I went to Zillow and I studied Zillow. I've been like up all night. My wife, she knows when I get into money making mode, I get focused. Like it's like nothing else exists to me. Like I have to make it happen. And so I'm up all night and I'm studying Zillow. I'm finding out how to filter the searches so that I can get to all of the leads that they put on their sites for free. So I would go in and I would make offers to for sale by owners. I would make offers to pre-foreclosures. I would find the owners of those and I would go and skip trace that information and contact those owners, and I was making offers every day. So I would probably make about 40 text message offers because I knew that my time was valuable, and if a person wasn't, going to respond to my offer, I didn't want to be on the phone with them talking about their life story, right? Because time is money, right? It's like I don't have time to hear that. Do you want my offer? Yes or no? So I'm texting offers. Hey, look, will you take this for it? So they're asking $50,000. Hey, will you take $5,000 for it? And lo and behold, this lady was like, I won't take 5,000, but I'll take 13. I was like, oh my God. So what that gave me is if I had made 100 offers, and I got one, and for me that was very successful, I ended up making $3,000 off that deal, right? So now what I did was some people look at that as activity and they say, man, I'm not making money for calling 100 people or texting 100 people. So how do you stay motivated as an entrepreneur? What I did in my mind was every no or every non-response to my offer was a dollar amount to me. So if I made $3,000, I want to write this down almost. If I made $3,000, I divided that by 100, right? And that gave me the average of what each no was valued at. Each no was valued at $30. $30 times 100 got me one close, right? And so now I was like, okay, I want to get, enough no's to reach my $100,000. So now I knew the amount of activity that I needed to have, or how many no's that I needed to have to make $3,000 a day, right? All I need to do is make 100 offers a day to get my $3,300. And that's what I did. I went in beast mode with it, bro. And when I say relentless, I know some of my methods, people like, damn, you do all that? Like, yes. Like, I'm crazy enough to do the impossible. If I know that it works and somebody's done it before, because people make millions a month wholesaling. So if I know that it works and somebody's done it before, I want to do it next. So that's my story, man.
Dude, Bryan, that is awesome, man. As you guys can see how energetic Bryan is. I mean, he got all the energy inside of him. And you see, the thing about Bryan that have me respect him so much is, it's not just that you're making a boatload of money, Bryan, but it's your mindset. Because it's like a diet. It's 80%. It's 80% of mindset and 20% is actually what you do. And that's why I respect you so much, man, because your mindset is so strong that it allows you to overcome any setbacks, any diversities, any brick wall. So, dude, I mean, that's awesome. What a great story. What a great story.
I'd say the biggest thing that I did, because, of course, we can all choose to make money in anything that we do and be successful at it, if we, like you said, have the right mindset. So in that transition, I chose to become a student of, mental development. I mean, I have hundreds of books, that I read, different ones every day. I probably read like 5-6 hours a day, throughout the day. And when I say read, I'm not sitting there reading whole books like 300 pages. I ain't no speed reader like that. But what I do is I read a couple pages out of a book, and something from that, when I open it up, it blesses me. And I want to read, so that I'm always a sponge so that I can, apply information. But I made myself study the power of the mind. I was like, man, there's something to this this thought world that, for some time I only identified myself with this, this skin, right? And I'm like, man, there's something to my brain that I'm not fully aware of, but I want to learn it. And so what ended up happening, bro, is I read a book, Think and Grow Rich. I watched the movie The Secret, but that led to me buying more and more books. And then I seeked out mentors that were, mentors on mind development. And they taught me so many things, man, to literally transform my way of thinking. And they told me, other things as well. That's probably too much for this, but man, it just literally changed everything for me because it kind of backed up my belief system. I was raised as a Christian. Now, I believe in Jesus and everything else. But I understand a lot of the principles that the Bible talked about as well. And it's almost like a biography for you to read as a roadmap, to be honest with you. It's kind of like, as a man thinketh, so is he. If you really unfold that message, it's just simply saying, like, look, whatever you think, you're going to be. And so if it's that simple, then if the Lord said that, I'm trusting and I'm standing on that faith that if I'm thinking it, I have it now. So now I just get to watch what everybody else hasn't seen yet, right? I already know. I'm like, oh, you're just now seeing that I make $100,000 a month. I made $100,000 a month when I was in that twin bed. You get what I'm saying? The $100,000 a month was made right then. Then I just had to wait for everybody in my family and all of you all to come see it, and then you enter into the life, and we take it even further. And so now we can help others do the same thing, because now when we understand that, once you see it here, done. Next. Once you see it here, done. Next. It's like ask, given, ask, given. And it's so fun when you understand that,
Nice.
So I think you went out on me for a second. It's like your computer connection. I'm still here though. Hold on just a second. All right. I don't see you, but I can hear you.
But,
I see you.
Okay, great. So yeah, Brian, right when you mentioned of the, it's either the book or the movie, The Secret and Think and Grow Rich. The book, The Secret, is what changes my wife's life. Think and Grow Rich is what changed my life. I've never read a book I've probably never finished reading a book
Yep.
in my life, Brian. But when I came across Think and Grow Rich, I didn't read it, but I was listening. I downloaded the video and I was watching the YouTube of it like every single day, and that's what changed my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
And that what kind of got me the whole shift and kind of changed my life.
That's exactly right, man.
So it's kind of how common you brought that up. So Brian, next question is, could you share with us kind of where your business is at right now? Like kind of share what kind of where you're at, what you're doing, and things like that.
So at this point in our business model, what we do is our whole end goal was to, not allow what happened the last time happen again. And that was done because, one, we only had one stream, but two, more importantly, we didn't have any residual income to match our residual debt or bills that we had accumulated, right? So if you have monthly residual bills, you need residual income to, that exceeds that. So our goal starting out was, to build something where we can, increase our cash on a consistent basis so that we can buy assets and to us, assets represents things that pay us every month. But so that we can buy assets that pay us a residual income every single month, no matter whether we do anything or not. So because what I wanted more is I loved staying in that beach home, but not the twin bed. I wanted it to be my own beach home. And so, I loved the fun that we had, etc., as we were regrouping and rebuilding our mental mind state. So I enjoyed that. And I also enjoy helping people, etc. So, the things that I enjoy the most, that's what I wanted to do and spend time with my family. And so what allowed me to do that is learning about how to wholesale. One, getting my mind right? Asking God for the wisdom, not the money, and getting my mind right. Once I did that, boom, then I started to, do things, to read, develop my mind, and saturate my mind with the right positive way to think. I found out about wholesaling. Wholesaling allowed me to use, get properties with no money at all and acquire large sums of cash. Then the next thing was to buy houses with that cash. I didn't want to, necessarily, have it just sitting in the bank and nothing to do with it. If you don't have a place for money to go, it will leave you every single time. It will leave you in bills. It'll find a way to get out of your way because money holds a vibration of energy that means movement. Money is movement. Money is energy, and it always wants to move. That's the vibration of money. So people think that they can save money, and they mentally are instilled with the belief of saving for a rainy day. Well, guess what? That money has an energy of movement, and it will become a rainy day if you believe that's what you're saving it for, so that it can keep moving away from you and flow. So understanding that money flows, then when you ask for a certain amount of money mentally, then you need to have a place for that money to flow to. So it needs to be an open vessel. If money comes to you and stops in a savings account, if money comes to you and stops in a safe or under your mattress, guess what? You clog the end pipe. You clog the vessel. You got to open up that fist and give it, and then you'll just start to see the floodgates open if you keep that current mindset. So now my whole mission, to answer your question, is not only to continue to build massive amounts of residual income, but I've told several people around me, I want to be the legacy of the Rockefellers, the John Paul Gettys, etc. I want to be massive in a way, but not just from a financial standpoint, that too, from an overflow of abundance continuously, but from helping millions of people around the world, realize who they are, where they came from, a child of the Most High, and then take them to something that they never dreamed of. And that's my mission now, to help as many people as possible in the world, to realize their goal. So they have like these little apps right now to where if I don't speak the language of somebody, I'm going to record it so that the app can record it with my same energy in a different language voice so that everybody can feel this. That's my mission right now, man.
Dude, Brian, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, hey, I hope you guys get some inspiration from that. But Brian, after hearing you saying that, dude, I mean, there's a lot of things that's going inside my head right now, dude. So I really appreciate that. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Brian, question number three. new beginner, and it's probably the majority of them that are on my channel right now are new beginner or trying to get into the wholesaling business. What are some tips that you can get for new beginners so they can start doing their first wholesale deal?
Okay, so I would say the biggest thing is what I share with people all the time. Like, and some people, a lot of people like would ask the question. I would even say, the higher ups who have made it, why do I give out so much information for free? It's because really any piece of information you can get for free, to be honest with you. And so it's just like my whole MO is to over deliver in value. So I want to be the person that you get so much value from, and I'm answering your question still, but to get so much value from to where you go out and win, to where now you're like, okay, that really helped me make, $50,000. Like, what else you got, right? Come on in here so I can give you this mental wisdom. Because once a person experiences financial success, they're more open to receive and then I can tell them the cause of what they got. The cause was changing their mindset. So, what would I tell a person? Number one, and I feel like most courses are really, missing this, is if you don't change the way you think now, you will never change your situation. I see so many people in life. This is really important. I'm going to get to the mechanics, but remember, mental is 80-90% of your entire life. So, I see so many people wrestling with circumstances or events. It's almost like my son drew this. My son drew this painting right here. My 4-year-old son. Right? And so it's almost like if you wrestle with effects or events in your life or circumstances or negative people in your life, you know what that's like? That's like an artist drawing a painting and then say, why are you over here? Why are you doing this? See how crazy that sounds? This sounds retarded, doesn't it? Why are you this color? Right? That's what that's like. It's like the artist, the mastermind, drawing a painting and getting mad at the painting for the way it's looking now. So what I'm saying is, it's not the painting, it's the mindset. And once you change the mindset, then you draw the right picture, man. That's what I'm saying. So, and it's like, that is the number one thing I would tell them, to start their change now. Change the way they think. And when they change the way they think, they will change who they become. And the other thing is, when you want to get to the mechanics of real estate, then everything else will unfold. I'm going to talk some about it because I know that's what this is. But everything else will unfold because you know what? I can't make the right seller show up. I know how to market my butt off, right? I can't make the right buyer show up. My techniques are simple and easy to do, and most of them are free. That's what we teach. Do what you can where you are with what you have. And so most of my techniques are free, so you don't have to spend a lot of money trying to input them into your business. But nobody can make that. What makes the right person show up in your life? Here. What makes the right deal pop? What makes you do, like, one thing is I was like, babe, I want to make $100,000 from one deal. And so my wife is so amazing, dude. Like, you're talking about a queen that fits a king. She bags me. Like, I don't care, like, if it's zero in the account, and I'd be like, babe, I want to take whatever check we're about to come in, and I want to dump it all in on this. What you think, babe? If anybody can do it, you can do it. Let's do it. And I'm like, damn, wow. I got a rider like that, like, man. And so it's just like, so that belief in, following me, it's like it makes me be like, I gotta deliver, like I gotta win, and that's the difference. I don't say I can't let her down because you just spoke it, right? I say I gotta win now, so it's all in learning. The things that you speak, you become. The things that you speak, you become. And so you got to learn or be around people that train you on the mental mindset to when they say something, because all of us forget, even myself. But we constantly put people in a reminder zone to say, when the person says something that is not conducive to who they really want to be, you catch it. So now I've surrounded myself, this is the next thing, with a circle of friends that when I'm speaking a certain way, they say, B, no. And when we catch each other, we make each other aware in moments. And it's like every morning I make sure that not only after I do my meditation, but I want to get bombarded with positive energy. So my friends send me positive videos. I send them positive videos. And it's like an abundance of flow. Like, hey, I needed that. Appreciate that. And so we're all feeding off each other and winning together positively in a mindset state. We can't help but to win. So, and that's the other thing. So you want to add up. So this is what I did. I did this. These are all steps that I'm taking. So I don't want you to just think that it's just, oh, you're going to do these things in wholesaling and you're going to make some money. Or you're going to do these things in your tax business, you're going to make some money. You're going to do these things in your whatever business and you're going to make some money. It's all what I'm saying. Follow these steps. The next thing is I looked at my surroundings, my current surroundings, and I was like, okay, I'm making this much right now. He's making this much. She's making this much. She's making this much. And I did it on a monthly basis. How much do these suckers make, right? Including myself. And I wrote it down. So it came up to X amount of dollars, right? Total. You divide that number by 5. You plus the other 4. That's gonna tell you the average of what y'all making. All of y'all gonna make. That's your. And it comes out to be your income. The average is what you make. So now I was like, oh my God, I need to, okay, so it's not that I didn't like the people I was around, right? But if I wanted something, birds of a feather do what? They flock together, man. So I had to surround myself with other eagles that was flying. And I'm not calling my old friends chickens. My point is, we were all chickens financially. You understand? But I wanted to be a skyscraper. I wanted to be, I always say, it takes, what, a couple minutes to build a chicken coop, but it may take a couple months to build a skyscraper. So I wanted to hang around skyscrapers or eagles that was soaring over the skyscrapers. And when I started to do that, I started to seek out the locations where these people hung out, the groups that they involved themselves in. And that way, on Facebook and social media, I was now only seeing their thoughts. And their thoughts were a lot different than us talking about the sports game that came on last night, right? Or talking about go getting some drinks, right? And that's all we do is talk about getting drinks. Or talking about some fine girls and some nice booties, right? That you get what I'm saying? So those conversations, I'm not saying they don't exist up here, but it then automatically, when you're talking about those things, it shifts. All right, so look, how are we going to get this money? You know what I mean? Like, it's always the next business idea. And so that motivated me. That put me in a new vortex. Well, I'm going to tell you something. When you're around abundant people, whether they're abundant from internal, abundant financially, etc., that means that they're filled up. And if they're filled up, that means what? They overflow. And if you are around it, guess what you're going to get? Some of that overflow on you too, right? And so you start to get drips and dribbles, and then all of a sudden, you getting filled up on drops. You getting filled up on drops, dude. And as you start to get filled up, and then just like, you filled up, you start to overflow. And guess what? You get to do podcasts and share that information with everybody else. That's how it happens, man. You can't pour into somebody else's cup until yours is filled up. So that means that you got to take care of internal self first. Fill yourself up from the inside, and you will overflow with the rest of the world. And then that overflow will overflow in others and others. No, it'll be a ripple effect. You will be the ripple in the universe to put a dent in the universe for your legacy. Make sure that whatever you do, you're doing it so that your name can be remembered in history. You know, the wisdom that you share is not necessarily, you may not get a statue or anything, but the things that you share plants in other people, seeds, etc., that was inspired by the originator of the thought, which is, from the inside. You get what I'm saying? So, one of my friends, Aham Mameni, I can't pronounce his name, he's Israeli, and great guy, but he always used to remind me when I started. He said, Bryan, remember to collect moments, not things. So even this Christmas, our thing with this Christmas is we're giving our kids experiences more so than gifts. We're giving them a couple gifts, but they have bigger gifts for experiences. And it's like those moments, they are always cherished. Those toys that they get, they're going to be done with them in a couple hours after they open the gift. You know what I mean? My son, we took him to Odell Beckham camp. It was a pretty penny, right? But he got to meet Odell, his favorite NFL player at the time, shake his hand, take pictures with him. Odell Beckham threw a ball to him, etc., and he caught it, and he ran a touchdown. It was just like, he will always remember that. So collect moments, not things, and life is about moments. And when you enjoy this experience and you create it on purpose, it becomes so fun. So the next thing, let me know when my time is up, man. We 29 minutes in. The next thing is let's go to the mechanics. So now once you get your mental in order, you start studying books, hanging around the right people, etc., and saturating your brain on a mental basis. And when I say saturate, I'm talking about be crazy enough to where you saturate your brain literally all of your waking hours and while you sleep. You have to reprogram your brain, or else your old way of thinking represents itself. Because here's the other thing that before I get into the mechanics, and you may say, man, I didn't know I was coming to a thought session. Okay.
Preach on, man.
The other thing that I realize is, I forgot that thought, so I'll keep going. So the mechanics of real estate is, putting or reverse engineering your goals. Reverse engineering your goals. When you reverse engineer your goals, what you then do is you know the end result. You know where you need to be. And so that's what I was going to say. So now you got to identify with, how does it feel to have what it is that I want? And I want you to understand what I'm saying here. When you want something badly enough, and you don't have it yet, you may say, I want such and such. And that's a state of consciousness. That's a state of being. Meaning, if I want something, you know what? I'm going to get. I hear people say that, I'm going to get that. You're going to always stay in the vortex of going to get that. It's always going to be something that you're going to do. But when you become what it is that you want, when you take on the skin of the environment of what it is that you want, mentally take it on, meaning if I want $1 million and I have a place for that $1 million to go, then that means I need to have that $1 million to do something with it. And so that I may think that I need $1 million so that I can buy $1 million house. I'm just using that as an example. So instead of, thinking about the million, because the million is going to move whether you have it in your possession or not, think about the what that you want it to buy. Okay, so don't think that you got to buy it. Somebody can give it to you. That's the way this all works. So how does it feel to be in a $100,000 a month business? That means that if you have a $100,000 a month business, then that means you're going to wake up to accepted contracts in your email. You're going to wake up to emails that say, the title company, we're closing today. Your check is ready. Your $50,000 check is ready. And you got 5 or 10 emails in there. So now when I visualize this, when I go into the mental lab is what I call it, I close my eyes in my meditation, and I do my meditations every 2 hours. I dominate my brain with this stuff, man. And so, it's not accidental is what I'm telling you. It's on purpose. It's intentional. So I dominate my brain with this. And when I go in the lab, I see, myself clicking on, I touch the mouse. Okay, I'm looking at the computer. I touch the mouse in my visualization. I feel my fingers scrolling the mouse on the email. I involve all of my 5 senses. It's called multisensory visualization. I see it with my eyes. I hear the bing sound on my emails as they come through. I smell the scent of my cologne in my house or my wife, etc., as I'm working on the email, etc. I smell, if I had a child that pooped everywhere, I would smell the doo-doo. Something that you get what I'm saying? I would smell the environment. Yeah. And I would include all of my 5 senses. And then as I look at the emails from my title company, says your check is ready. Bryan, you want us to wire this $100,000 check, or you want us to you want to come pick up your check? And I'm like, oh my God, I want to come get it. I need to see it, right? I need to see what it feels like. And so I'm in that moment right now. And I change it. What visualization does like that is it changes your molecular structure, because now you're operating in a different realm, in the spirit realm. And now you come back, and that spirit comes back, and it affects the body. Now, most people do this in a negative way. Most people do this in a way to where they let their mind just wander off, and they're sitting there stuck, and they're thinking about all of the problems, and they're creating regardless whether they know it. And when they create those problems, etc., in their mind, they come back and it affects their physical body. How? Because they're now worrying. They're sad-faced. Oh my God, something that hasn't happened yet. It only happened in their mind. They're sad about it now. What I'm telling you is learn how to tame that imagination, because the imagination is a horrible master, but it's a wonderful servant. It will obey you when you put the control in it, okay? So learn how to tame that imagination. And there are biblical verses that back up what I'm saying. We're not going to go there now. But the other thing is, I see so many people wrestling with effects and circumstances. And it's just like, okay, change your thinking. And you got to remember that your past thoughts, every thought becomes form. Thought is a different world that if you're not operating in it, that don't mean it doesn't exist, okay? It's always going on. And so when you operate in that world, that means that you understand that it's a law. I call it it's a law. It's like gravity. If you jump off the top of this house right now, you're going to fall and hit the ground. You jump off the building, you're going to fall and hit the ground. If you think a thought, it's going to manifest into reality. Thoughts become things. If you think a thought, it attracts the same similar thoughts to bring it into reality. So a lot of people say, I would never think of anything like that to happen to me. They get offensive when they realize that they're the creator of their problems. They say, I would never think of anything like that to happen to me. You think I would think of something like that to happen to myself? And then, so... It's almost like you point a finger at somebody else. How many point back at you? 3, right? It goes back to that. So now, when you realize that you are the creator of your thoughts, then what you got to understand is when you start thinking right now, your thoughts have to confront you. They must confront you. Because if it wasn't, then God's word from inside of you comes back void. His word, Scripture tells us, that will never, ever come back void. Ever. And the internal word that comes out of you always becomes flesh. So it's these principles in the Bible that are operating. When people get to understand them, now they start speaking, the right words. But now, so when those problems confront you because of your residual effect, your body is walking in your past. Your body is walking in your past way of thinking. Don't attach to the past thoughts that are confronting you. That's just something that just has to go pass on by. See it, way, hey, how you doing? See your ass later. Like, I don't want to talk to you no more. All right, bye. And you don't emotionally involve yourself with it, right? If a person wants to argue with you, you don't, oh my God, you mother, oh my God. You're emotionally involving with it, right? You know what? You're right. I apologize. You know what? I'm so sorry. Have a great day. That throws so many people off. They're like, wait, I wanted to argue with you, right? But when you kill it, what they say, kill it with kindness, keep it moving. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. You know what? What's the solution in this? That's my question. I'm not saying I'm not human. I'm not saying I never, want to argue or have been in an argument. You get what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is you got to now rise above that situation and say, okay, what's going to be the solution to this? You start thinking from a different realm, and then the solution is simply saying, okay, how do we solve this? Right? So when you do that, it stops everybody. Okay, you know what? How do we solve this? How do we fix this? I apologize. Because people have a secret lust for arguments. People have a secret lust for negativity. And so when you choose to operate from a positive mindset, guys, I'm telling you, it literally changes your life. And so the next thing that you do is once you do all those things, you go into, reverse engineering your goal. That means setting the end goal and visualizing yourself receiving the emails or even holding the check. Like visualize yourself, I just made my affect your physical body and your visualization. And then now what happens is you come back from the spirit realm and the God guides your body into do the right thing. It's going to present the right people. You're just going to start to see people show up in your life. You'd be like, oh my God. When you know what you're doing and you see people that show up in your life, but the thing is most people get it. And what we tend to do is we give credit to, oh, it happened like that because this happened and that guy met this guy. And we give, that credit to the outer effects of the way that God orchestrates it all. The great thing about all of this is you don't have to concern yourself with the how. How something is going to happen is not your jurisdiction. And when you try to figure out the how, you go into worry, depression, etc. because you see something that is impossible that has to happen. It's impossible, right? The way certain stuff happens, me making $100,000 a month coming from Westwood, Westwood is the inner city of Memphis, Tennessee, right? People get killed down there all the time. Kids sell drugs. Their kids are selling drugs. Women are prostituting in that area, right? So what I'm saying is, when a person like me can do something like that, guys, I'm telling you, it's literally just a power of the mind. Changing the way you think, guys, and you literally affect the universe when you make the decision to change. You may think, so when the impossible happens, and you see the impossible happens, and you say, in your mind, you say, okay, if I want this $100 million, then all this stuff got to happen, and that can't happen. Well, you're defeating yourself because you're speaking from a conscious mind and not from the Most High, right? And so now you got to let God do what he do. You got to let him put that person on the plane in China that's ready to, fly and send you $1 billion. You asking for $100 million, and they ready to stroke you a check for $1 billion, and he bumps into your wife in a coffee shop, and she tells him that, man, my husband does this, and he has access to hundreds of houses. He said, well, can he get more? What's his number? He calls you. You talk to him on the phone. Next thing you know, you got $1 billion deal in your hand. Watch the stories and the histories of some of the greats. They'll tell you, I didn't know. That's what I started doing. I started studying the greats. I'm talking about Andrew Carnegie, John Paul Getty, John D. Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. Study the greats. The men who built America is a great story to watch on the History Channel. Go to Amazon, buy it. It's $14.99, and watch every single person who had a major effect on this America that we live in now. How they didn't know, never knew how it was going to happen, but because they had a vision that they believed in, everything else unfolded for them. Many of them were in bankruptcy, filed it several times, on the brink of bankruptcy, of losing it all, and now they're the richest men in the world of their time. They were the dinosaurs of their time. So what I'm telling you is I want you to understand that this is a wholesaling, channel, but wholesaling ain't it. It's the mind. Once you get the mind, wholesaling becomes like one of the ways that the Lord uses to send the abundance to you. All right,
man. All right, Bryan. I mean, so basically, I guess share some of the mechanic for, if you could.
So now what I would do is I would go to Zillow. And when I go to Zillow, I would filter the search to say for sale by owner. So at the top, it has a little drop down button, and change it to for sale by owner. The thing is, you're going to see a price. Here's the thing that you got to understand the psychology. Anybody who wants to sell a house, they put on the house how much they want to sell it for, and they're trying to get the market value, right? But then what you also got to look at is Zillow tells you how long it's been out there for sale on Zillow. So if you find something that's been out there for 60 days, 90 days, and we're in a booming economy, right? We're in a booming economy right now as far as real estate. Then you got to understand the psychology. He wants that full value, but obviously he ain't getting that full value. And if he got it out here for sale on Zillow, still, he wants to do what? Sell it, right? So understanding that, then I'm going to shoot him the offer that works for me and my buyer. So if I'm going to use even numbers. Matter of fact, I think you can see this pretty good. I think. Yep. Yeah. All right. So if he's asking $100,000, right? Mm-hmm. Then my buyer, this is really good information. My buyer is going to pay me 70%. No matter what. That's all in cost. My buyer is going to pay me 70% for a house in this area that he's desiring. So one, I got to know what my buyers want. How do I find my buyers? I find buyers all day long on Craigslist. I find buyers all day long on social media. Real buyers. I find buyers all day long from networking groups, etc. I find buyers in various ways, okay? Once I find out buyers, I find buyers from my own personal network, doctor friends, big-time pastors, etc. Every one of us knows some. It's somebody in your circle right now that's ready to buy real estate and is going to probably buy real estate within the next 30 days, but you could be the person that helps find them what they're looking for. And guess what? You can get in between the money by getting them to sign the contract for the deal that you found. So now, most typical buyers pay 70% of the value. 70% of the value. So that means that if the house is worth $100,000, then the way you do that is 100,000 times 0.7. That's going to give you how much they're willing to pay for, not for the house, but for the house, the rehab, and guess what? Your fee. All right? So that means that me and my mindset, I always want to make $10,000 from a deal. Minimum. Okay? Now, I'll take 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I'll take 500. I'll take, oatmeal is better than no meal. Remember that? So I
like that.
Bro. Right. So now I'm going to subtract my fee out of there, and that's going to give me $60,000 that I got to work with as far as an offer. Then I'm going to ask him, how much work does he think it needs? And he says, it needs a little bit of work. It needs just a medium amount of work, or it needs a gut job. It's a complete gut job. The way I figure that number is this. If it needs little to no work, I write down $5. If it needs a minimum amount of work, I write down $10. And if it needs a gut job, I do $15 to $20. I multiply these numbers times the square footage. Okay? So I'm not trying to do no books or analyzing or some software that's going to tell me how much repair cost is. I ain't got time for that, right? I want to make money. Today is about making money. I wake up every morning, who got it, right? Who got my money today? Maria tell you, who got my money today? So that's that Grant Cardone talk. So depending on what this is, I say $5 times, if it's 1,000 square feet, that means it's going to be $5,000. If it's 1,000 square feet, it's going to be $10,000. If it's 1,000 square feet, a gut job is going to cost $15,000. So let's just say it really doesn't need that many repairs. He said, man, look, you can just really walk in and move in it right now. It just may need paint. That's $5. That means I'm going to subtract $5,000 from the leftover amount, which is going to give me $55,000. Right? So now, is my offer to him going to be $55,000? No. Why? Because every person, unless they're, like really ready to go today, most of them want to negotiate. So my first offer to him may be $45,000 to $47,000. Okay? $45,000 to $47,000. I'm gonna show my people this. $45,000 to $47,000. So this is my final offer though. Does that make sense? My final offer is that number there. Is that your final offer? All right, is this last number, this number that I came up with immediately. Then my next offer is, my first offer is going to be $10,000 less. So I'm offering $45,000. My next offer is going to be $47,000 to $50,000. All right. And then my final offer, if we can't meet, reach that area right there, then my next offer, that's my final offer, unless I want to eat into my fee. Does that make sense? So if I decide to eat into my fee, then I can start taking that number up a little bit higher. But I can tell you something like this. If this guy says, if this guy says something like, hey, look, if I know I'm going to make 10 grand, he says, look, we're at, $57,000 or $59,000. Yes, I'm going to take it. If that's going to get the deal done, because I know I got a $70,000 buyer on the other end, ready to close. I find out how soon my buyers can close. See, I don't really sell to wholesalers as much because they're looking for buyers, and I know how to find a buyer right now, right? So I got my buyers in place, and I ask my buyers, hey, look, if I find a deal, how fast can you pull that cash from up under your mattress, right? And they say something like, I'll be ready to close. Some of them don't even know what title companies is. So they'll say, I'll bring you the cash tomorrow. Like, dang! So when I realized that and I got somebody that's ready to pull the trigger tomorrow, then I'm going hunting. So now it's almost like being in a position where you get a grocery list. You get a grocery list from, the end buyer. So just imagine if you were shopping for the elderly. You go to their house, you get the grocery list, right? Boom. Thank you so much. All you got to do is go to the store, the grocery store, and then pick out the items. You know what sometimes you can do? You can just make a phone call to the grocery store, and then they have the bags waiting for you. And so that's when you kind of get into advanced wholesaling. You call your banks, and you got a relationship with banks. They say, look, I just got a block of 100 foreclosures that's non-performing, and we want to sell them. We'll sell them at this price. We'll sell them to you at 55 cents on the dollar. If he had 55 cents on the dollar, then he got 100 of them. That means that I'm going to make 10,000 times 100. I got $1 million check coming by the end of the week. You with me? So that's kind of how you're looking at it, man. That's the mechanics. Yeah.
Nice, Bryan. Hey, thanks a lot for all those great information, Bryan. That's awesome, man. So hopefully for those of you who are, who haven't done your wholesale deal, hopefully you take the advice of what Bryan is giving you, take action on it, because obviously without actions, nothing is going to happen. So Bryan, thanks a lot for that. But one last question before I let you go here, because it seems like we got about like less than 10 minutes here. So one last question is, Bryan, it's now for those have already, maybe for those already start doing a couple deals already, how do they scale up and get that consistently monthly income? Because I know for myself, when I first started, I started doing a couple deals, and then it was like trying to figure out how do I get it consistently? Because it goes up and goes down, and you want it to be consistent, so you know that, hey, you know what, I'm ready to quit whatever my job is or whatever that is that I'm doing, and I can go full time on this. So my question for you would be, for those that wants to scale up, what kind of step do they need to take to scale up in this business?
All right, so the first thing I would say, of course, I always start with the cause, but I'm not going to go as deep as I did there. But the first thing is you describe, so the entrepreneur that's listening to this, that's on the next level already. You know, you're making $100,000 a year or 200,000. You're hitting your goals, right? But as an entrepreneur, you're hitting boom, boom, right? Boom, boom. You're up and down with it. For that person, that is a result or an effect of your internal thermostat level. Boom, boom. So if you think about it, I want you to put this in relationship to your house. In your house right now, you know, when the temperature, you know, is set at a certain amount, it's set, let's just say it's 72 degrees right now. It's cold outside, so it's set at 72 degrees, right? And if it's set at 72 degrees, then when the temperature in the house rises to 72 degrees, then guess what? The thermostat level kicks off. And then the temperature starts to go back down again, right? And then guess what? And it gets down to, you know, 65 or 60. It's cold in here, but your thermostat is already internally built in. Whether you do something, whether you go touch it or not, the thermostat lever, it's going to kick back in. And so what I'm telling you is, first, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to reset your temperature, your gauge. Meaning, there's a certain number that you get down to that kicks in your internal thermostat. That could be $10 for some people. Like, man, you got $10 in your account. That could be $50,000 for some people. That could be $500,000 a month for some people. Whatever that is, you have to go in and internally change what that number is that makes you uncomfortable. And that takes work. But until you do that, then you will stop working. So that means when you hit your goal and you here, you need to reset the thermostat. So that now, hey, look, if now I ain't there yet. You get what I'm saying? Meaning, like, if your goal was here and you get here, you got to say, okay, we still ain't there yet. And so now, instead of kicking down, it kicks up again because it has to turn back on. Boom. All right. Now you get here, you got to reset it again so that you can keep becoming number ones on the next level. So it's easy to get to 10 on level 1. But what you got to do is you got to reset that thermostat level so that you can go to level 2, but you got to be a 1 again on level 2. Boom! And then you go up, and so now you do this for this whole time so long because the body, it's a body, right? We're wearing this body. This body has to rest. It has to take breaks. So what I do is we make sure that on this grind, we probably take a break every once or 2 weeks or every month for sure. You get what I'm saying? You take a break, you pull back, you let the body rest, and then you feed the body internally, mentally, etc. And then you come back in beast mode. So the myth of having to take, and this is all answering your question, what does a person on the next level do? That you only take a vacation once a year. You need to be taking small mini vacations throughout the year so that you can always reset. You need to, I don't care. You're making money, take a vacation, take a break, 2 weeks every month. Boom. Come back, regroup, boom. Come back, regroup, boom. That way you won't overdrive. And then and some people say, man, I'm going to retire when I'm 50 or I'm going to retire when I'm 65 and I'm going to grind for the next 20 years. No, your goal should be to retire completely every 3 to 5 years. Retire. Just shut everything off and retire. You take many retirements throughout your life because who wants to be 70 years old, 65 years old? Most people that are not eating healthily are doing the right things to take care of their body so that they can look like this when they're 65, right? So when they go on the Carnival cruises, they can't do any of the excursions, right? Because the bones won't take it, or they can't, put their body through that type of adrenaline rush or excitement, right? So the thing is, take these many retirements throughout your life. Enjoy life as you get it. My mom says, Brian, take time to smell the roses, right? And so what that meant to me when I was 22 was, hey, look, take a break. It's okay to take a break. Enjoy it. Take completely off for a freaking year. Come back to it, beast mode. 3-4 years, come back to it, beast mode. 3-4 years, and you keep doing that to where when you get to 65, 75, you're like, man, you know what? When you get to 80 or 90 or 100 or 200, I lived till I'm 500 years old. It's like, man, I think I done just about everything on this earth I can do, right? And so you're not waiting to do that. You're doing it now, and that's the beauty of it all. So that's the first thing. So how do you do that? How do you get so now you're here and you're ready to go to the next level as an entrepreneur? The first thing that you need to do is invest in delegation, delegating your tasks. But you have to know what you need to delegate in order to properly delegate it. I've seen a lot of people, they get VAs and virtual assistants, but they don't know what they're going to tell their virtual assistant to do. So you think that this person who's comfortable with making $5 or $10 an hour is equipped mentally enough to know what your brain is thinking, right? Probably not. So what we do is we have like a series of videos, and yeah, I sell these, right? But we have a series of videos that I created for my virtual assistants to rebuild my wholesaling business, without me being there. And it takes them about 7 to 14 days to learn it. So my guys have been with me. I've had the same VAs for almost 4 years because I gave them a format of this is what you do at this time each day. This is what you do at this time each day. So my marketing game is on lock. You need to be doing 99% of what you're doing in your business should be marketing. You should never have to sell your product. You should be marketing so much to where the right customer that's looking for what you have sees it and they call you to give you money. That's what it's about. 99% of your business on the next level is marketing. And if you're not marketing, you're dead. You don't exist. The difference between being good, so here you're good, but up here you're great. The difference between good and great is exposure. That's the only difference between good and great. So the more exposure. So now my VAs, 99% of the time, they're beast mode all over social media. Granted, they can't go offline and market for me, but there's a whole world of hundreds of millions of people on the internet. I want all of them to know me. Right? I want all of them to hear about me. That's my goal. So I market on social media. I market on groups. I market on LinkedIn. I market on YouTube. I market on Vimeo. I market on Twitter. I market on emails. I market virtually on text blasts. Until tell me to stop. You're going to hear from me until you change your phone number, delete me off social media, right? Block my emails, or and my phone calls. You're gonna hear from me until you tell me to stop. And if you tell me to stop, I'm gonna say, "Are you sure?" By the way, take a look at this, right? So the key to it is exposure. 99%. Boom, 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 boom. Market. Be the dominant force in the market space. Don't read the news. Be the news. You get what I'm saying? Don't read the news. Be the news. And when you make it a point to be the news, meaning this is my value that I'm bringing. I'm telling you this. This is what I'm doing. If you like it, click here. If you don't, share it, right? Some people say, if you don't like it, delete me. If you don't like it, share it with somebody that might, okay? So that's my MO, man.
Awesome, man. Hey, I really appreciate that, Bryan. I'm sure that my audience will love that. And hey, thank you so much, Bryan, for your time. To take the, obviously the valuable of your time out of your day to be able to do this with me, man. So I just want to thank you. And I believe everything happened for a reason. I believe there's a reason why we connected. So, but I appreciate it, Bryan, a lot, man. You just don't know how much I appreciate you being here and doing this interview with me. A lot.
If it's okay, if anybody else that's looking for, ongoing daily, I would say mentoring like this, you can go to www.theharrismastermind.com, TheHarris mastermind.com, and we would love to see you as a member on our 2018 mastermind group and beyond. So I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share my passion and my joy with your audience. And I'm going to go ahead and speak this for you, the rest of the world, on your show. Can you tell everybody the name of your show so they can know what to look for and how to find it, too? Because I have an audience that's going to see this as well.
Gotcha, great. Yeah, so basically, Bryan, is that I'm pretty much just on YouTube, and all you need to go is Wholesale to Millions. And the reason why I named that name is it's pretty much wholesaling is what got us to our million. So it's Wholesale to Millions. So you guys can go on there. Bryan, I need to take action. What you said is I need to be all over the place because right now on social media. That's pretty much the only thing that I'm active on is YouTube. It's I love sharing, and also too is building an audience. And
Yep.
that's why I started the channel. Now back to you, Bryan. Is how do people get a hold of you? I know you mentorship and things like that. So what are some good ways for people to reach out to you and get some mentorship from you?
Okay, so that's one way. The harrismastermind.com. Appreciate you sharing that with them. The harrismastermind.com is one way. The other way is you can follow me on social media, Bryan, Bryan S Harris. And it's also, we have a fan page, Bryan $Harris. I'm on Instagram, _Bryan_Harris. And then also our email. You can shoot us an email at reimentor@homesfor10k.com. That's reimentor@homesfor10k.com. And I want you to write this one down. If you're watching this and you are a real estate investor and a wholesaler, I want you to remember this one. You need this course. It's the #1 wholesaling course in the world. You will never have to buy another wholesaling course again if you go here and you go to www.howtoflipcribs.com. So HOWTOFLIPCRIBS.com.
You guys, thank you so much, Bryan. And if you would send me all those links,
I will.
So I would drop it in the descriptions. That way you guys don't have to, search it or anything like that. You guys just click on it. You guys, I watch his stuff. He's the guy that's not just teaching, but he's actually doing it. And if you guys want to change your life, just like he said, first you got to change yourself, then your life will change.
That's right.
And I can't think of a better person, you guys. So if you guys do want to get into this business and want to mentor, hit Bryan up. And as you always say, it's your boy.
It's your boy B. Thank you so much, man. I had a great time.
Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful Friday and a great week. And thank you so much.
You too, my man.
Thank you so much.